Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are wrestling with a rumor that is, well, it's so massive and so consequential, it sits right at the intersection of big tech, high fashion, and legacy media. We're talking about the potential acquisition of Condé Nast, the global publishing giant, and, maybe more importantly, the owner of Vogue, by the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, and this is not just your typical business gossip. It's definitely not just about the finances of some publishing house.
Yeah.
Our deep dive today is built around the analysis of Mark Abergel, who's a luxury executive based in Paris. And he argues this potential move, it really transcends commerce. He calls it the single biggest cultural power grab of the decade.
Wow. Okay, that sets the stage perfectly.
Yeah.
So our mission here is to understand why the world's most powerful logistics baron wants to own the world's most powerful fashion magazine. Because it's fundamentally not about the magazines themselves.
Yeah.
It seems to be about owning desire itself and the future of what Abergel calls the sovereignty of luxury.
And we know this is calculated. This isn't a whim. Look at the signals. Abergel pointed to the Met Gala sponsorship by Bezos. That was the advance warning. As he put it, before owning the cathedral, they've rented the altar.
That's a great line.
It really is. It signifies a very focused, very strategic pivot right into the heart of cultural authority.
Okay, let's unpack this. If you are the founder of Amazon, you already command, unlimited capital, the world's most efficient infrastructure for delivery, more data on what we buy than any government. You sell everything.
Everything.
So what specific critical piece of the puzzle does Condé Nast and really Vogue give him that Amazon doesn't already have?
It gives him the infrastructure of desire.
The infrastructure of desire.
Abergel's thesis is that Bezos has, brilliantly conquered the infrastructure of commerce. That's the physical, reliable last mile that takes a product from a warehouse to your front door in, 24 hours?
Right. We all know that part.
Now, he seeks to command the last mile of culture.
Which is that critical, that decisive stretch between what the world sees, a runway show, a celebrity look, and what the world actually desires enough to click buy.
Exactly. Amazon knows what you buy. Vogue knows what you aspire to buy. This potential acquisition is the ultimate vertical integration of influence.
So you own the commerce platform and you own the editorial machine that defines what's aspirational, what's tasteful, what's culturally relevant.
All of it.
But hold on, don't Hearst or other media giants own media and collaborate with commerce already? What makes this so fundamentally different?
I think it's the scale. It's the totality. When Bezos makes this move, the kingmaker and the delivery service become one single entity that operates at the planetary scale of Amazon.
I see.
And Abergel stresses that whether or not this transaction ever even closes, the fact that the rumor is so persistent, it signals a new reality.
Which is?
That the tech titans now view the architecture of cultural influence as the next, and maybe the most essential, frontier. They've realized that culture is the ultimate infrastructure because it's what generates demand in the first place.
They understand that while they command the physical world of goods, they don't yet control the emotional operating system, that legitimacy engine that makes those goods desirable.
That's the core.
Yeah.
And that leads us to how we even value Vogue itself.
Okay, let's challenge that a bit. When luxury executives like Abergel call Vogue a cultural sovereign or a cultural nation, isn't that a little dramatic? We know traditional publishing is struggling financially. It's a glossy magazine, not an actual country.
It is dramatic, but it's strategically accurate. For decades, Condé Nast has operated as the quiet sculptors of desire, the unseen architects of what the world deems beautiful, relevant, and worth wanting.
So the value isn't in the paper?
Not at all. It's in the accumulated, irreplaceable cultural authority it wields. To own Vogue is, it's literally to own the global compass that orients aspiration.
It has this canonical power. It sets the cultural clock for the entire industry.
Precisely. It's the Ministry of Culture that officially codifies what is chic and what is relevant. Just think about its track record of building the canon. The first color cover, that was 1932. The first cover featuring a woman of color, 1966.
Or the iconic 1990 supermodels era.
Yeah, that cemented the celebrity supermodel structure we still operate under. Vogue isn't just reporting on culture, it is creating the framework for high culture.
So Bezos isn't buying a struggling balance sheet. He's buying a century of accumulated authority, legitimacy, and influence.
That is the purchase. And you have Harvard media historian Heidi Legg emphasizing this exact point. She notes the value is specifically in the legitimacy it confers, its ability to make a designer, a product, or even an idea matter.
An authority that Amazon, despite all its size, just can't engineer overnight.
No way.
And we even see that power reflected in, the most mainstream ways. I love the anecdote about the rumored storyline for The Devil Wears Prada, too.
Now, this is great.
The plot is reportedly inspired by Bezos' bid, revolving around a tech billionaire trying to buy Runway, the fictional Vogue. It just shows that Wintour's influence has reached this level of Hollywood immortality. She is universally seen as the central gatekeeper.
The whole world understands that this is where the power resides.
Which brings us to the strategic genius of keeping Anna Wintour. The sources suggest her rumored retention as global chief content officer is a strategic masterstroke. Why is keeping her on board so critical rather than just replacing her with some tech CEO?
Because it establishes what Abergil calls the soft power axis. Bezos provides the infrastructure, the raw power of scale, while Wintour provides the legitimacy and the taste.
So if Bezos is Caesar, Anna is his cultural general.
Perfect analogy. Her continuity ensures the brand's established authority stays intact, but now she's backed by the logistics and data machinery of a trillion-dollar empire.
She defines the taste. He instantly distributes and monetizes that taste.
Exactly. And that's where the tech analogy becomes, frankly, a little terrifying. Vogue could be reconfigured into a cultural AWS.
A cultural Amazon Web Services.
Right. Think about AWS. It's reliable, it's instant, it's infinitely scalable cloud infrastructure. Now, just apply that same concept to desire. It becomes a cloud infrastructure for taste, where aesthetic decisions are provisioned at scale and instantly available to any brand willing to rent that legitimacy.
You've mentioned this before, the idea that the line between editorial and advertising will just dissolve. But critics would argue that line has been blurring for decades, right, with sponsored content and native ads.
Of course.
What makes the threat under Bezos so fundamentally different?
It's the difference between suggestion and absolute optimization. When the editorial calendar syncs up with prime drops, the editorial lens, it stops being purely aesthetic. It becomes a targeting engine built on hyper-efficient data.
So aspiration becomes just another data point.
And taste gets optimized for conversion velocity.
Can you give us a tangible example of how that might work?
Sure. Let's say Wintour greenlights a feature on a very specific, subtle shade of emerald green for next season's cover. In the current model, this inspires shoppers globally.
Okay.
In the Bezos model, that editorial data point, the color, the texture, the whole aesthetic, it instantly informs Amazon's entire ad ecosystem. So while the luxury houses might sell a few high-end emerald dresses, Amazon's ad network is simultaneously pushing thousands of complementary lower-priced goods in that specific shade to every zip code where that reader profile exists.
So recommendation becomes decree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the cultural arbiter and the distribution mechanism are one and the same.
The ultimate control over the entire supply chain of desire. That completely changes the game for the existing cultural nations of luxury, LVMH, Chanel, Hermes, Kering. They're the ones who actually create the objects we desire.
And they are facing a true cultural Cold War. We have to remember the history here.
Yeah.
Luxury brands, they flirted with Amazon years ago and then deliberately pulled back.
Right, I remember that.
Back in 2016, the LVMH CFO, Jean-Jacques Guillaume, he famously stated that the business of Amazon does not fit with LVMH.
And that wasn't just about the financial terms, was it? It was deeper.
Not at all. It was about ethos. Luxury depends on scarcity, on curation, on the environment. Placing a $10,000 Chanel bag next to bulk laundry detergent, it just flattens the exclusivity. It dilutes the myth-making.
The luxury houses needed to control the environment to protect their own cultural equity.
Yes, but now Bezos isn't asking for a slot on the shelf. As Abergil says, he's buying the table, the dining hall, and the seating chart.
Precisely. The luxury maisons risk becoming nothing more than a vendor inside someone else's cultural nation of taste.
And Vogue, which historically acted as this sort of Switzerland, a neutral arbiter covering every designer, it loses that neutrality. If the channel that defines desire is owned by the most powerful commerce giant on Earth,
then luxury is negotiating its future from occupied territory.
that's the fear.
So if the traditional luxury houses can't counter this with another seasonal ad campaign or another limited edition collaboration, what is their defense? How do they reclaim cultural sovereignty in this new landscape?
They can't rely on rented platforms anymore. This demands what Mark Abergil calls a third renaissance for luxury. A move to aggressively build their own cultural infrastructure.
The sovereign stack.
The sovereign stack, yes.
Okay, we need to dive into these pillars. What are the pillars of this sovereign stack?
There are 4 key pillars that define cultural independence. The first is embassies as own stage.
What does an embassy even look like in a digital-first world?
It means radical control over the narrative and the data. These are high-fidelity narrative sanctuaries, both physical and digital.
So like a bespoke brand app.
Exactly, or an immersive digital showroom where the identity, the data, the pricing, it all remains absolutely sovereign. The experience is flawless, it's curated, and it's fully earned by the Maison. It blocks any third party from collecting transaction or aspiration data.
They're building the cultural experience, not just renting space on Instagram.
Control the story, control the data. That's pillar 1. Pillar 2 is rituals as sequencing. It means abandoning the chase for shallow virality on platforms like TikTok and returning to staging intentional moments. You shape the cultural calendar by revealing new lines in a sequence, starting with your most devoted clients first.
Ah, so a staged, tiered rollout.
Yeah, you prioritize meaning and intimacy over instant mass exposure. You're creating a private memory before it ever becomes a public announcement.
That immediately restores a sense of exclusivity that social media just tends to destroy.
It does. And the third pillar is crucial for establishing that long-term legitimacy. Sacred texts and archives as canon.
We're talking about long-horizon investments that are immune to algorithmic decay.
Precisely. These are physical and digital monuments. Long-term archival projects, high-quality luxury publishing initiatives like the Louis Vuitton Foundation or Chanel's dedicated arts and culture magazine.
These are acts of canon building in print.
Which Abergel notes is a fundamental act of cultural sovereignty. You are self-authoring your own permanent history, ensuring your relevance exists outside of Google's search index or, Bezos's algorithm.
So they're actively creating the historical record themselves, not letting a third party write it. Okay, and the fourth pillar.
Diplomats as ambassadors. This means sovereign voices, not just hired influencers. These are trusted designers, artists, in-house archivists who can speak without the distortion of a commercial middleman.
Can you give an example?
Take Pharrell Williams at Louis Vuitton. Imagine him producing an exclusive documentary or private content just for LV clients. That's forging desire from the inside out. You're using proprietary talent to build a direct sovereign relationship with your clientele.
This entire deep dive, it really reveals that Bezos's rumored bid is a play for the emotional operating system of luxury, where desirability is the new margin.
It is. The central conflict is between the tech empire of infinitely scalable distribution and the luxury nation of deeply curated, protected taste.
Absolutely. The luxury world faces a stark choice. Either act like a cultural nation and fight for authorship by building that sovereign stack.
Or risk a very slow surrender. And if they surrender, their brand's entire decade can be made or ended by an algorithmically timed feature dictated from Bezos's empire. They will have outsourced their own cultural fate.
That is a profound framework for understanding the next generation of commerce. In an age where even advanced AI can now generate taste on demand, human-led myth-making, that true authority is really the last, most irreplaceable luxury asset.
And that raises a crucial question for you to consider. What happens when the only myth-making machine that matters is running on the scale and infrastructure of Amazon, constantly optimizing for conversion, and your collection is only valuable if it is part of his canon? The battle for taste has moved definitively from the runway to the server farm.